Today I'll be covering mandibular fracture. Coming to anatomy of the mandible, and mandible is the strongest of all the facial bones and it is only the mobile bone of the facial skeleton. It is horseshoe shaped with symphysis being the most prominent part. It has thick cortical plates and the condyles are articulates with the glenoid fossa of the temporal bone. Now the weak areas of the mandible, because of these weak areas it is more prone for fractures, which includes junction between the alveolar bone and the basal mandibular bone, symphysis region, which is the junction of two individual bones, parasymphysis region, that is parasymphysis region, because of the presence of mental foramen and incisive foramen, it is considered to be the weak area of the mandible, because of which fractures takes place. Now the junction of ramus and body of fracture are commonly fractured. It is because of the presence of third molars and presence of impacted tooth and canine with long roots. Coming to the classification of mandibular fractures, the mandibular fractures are classified into various aspects depending upon the site, the location. So Kruger classified mandibular fractures as simple fracture, that is closed, that in these cases it's a linear fracture which do not communicate with the external environment. Compound or open fracture, in which it communicates with the external environment. It could be intraoral or extraoral. Comminuted, in which the fractures, the bone is fractured into multiple pieces. Complex complicated, it is when an adjunct nerve or a blood vessel is involved in such fractures. Impacted, when one fragment is driven over the other and there is no clinical movement as such. Green stick fractures are those in which only one cortex of the bone is fractured and the other is intact. It is normally seen in children. Pathological fractures are normally associated with some pathology, because of which the bone structure is weakened and which ultimately results in fracture. According to Dingman and Natwig classification, it was classified depending upon the site of fracture. So it includes symphysis fracture, canine or the parasymphysis region fracture, body, angle fracture, ramus fracture, coronary condylar and dentoalveolar fracture. According to the direction and favorability, it is commonly divided into horizontally favorable or unfavorable and vertically favorable or unfavorable. So horizontally favorable fractures are those fractures in which the fracture line runs from the alveolar margin, downwards and forwards. So upward displacement of the posterior segment doesn't take place as the body fracture body segment. It prevents the displacement of the posterior segment. Now horizontally unfavorable fractures are those fractures in which the fracture line runs downward and backward. So this one is the unfavorable fracture. Here the fracture line runs downward and backward so that the posterior fracture fragment is set free and can be displaced easily. Now coming to the vertically favorable fracture, these are the fracture lines that runs from outer oblique buccal plate and it runs obliquely backward and lingually, in which the medial movement of the posterior fragment is limited. In vertically unfavorable fracture, the fracture line runs from the inner lingual plate and it runs obliquely in the backward and downward area going to the buccal plate, and as you can see the posterior segments is set free in such fractures. So medial movement of these fractures can be taken place, so it is considered to be a vertically unfavorable fracture. According to Kazanjian, now fracture fragments is classified, mandibular fractures are classified depending upon the absence or presence of teeth. In class 1, the teeth are present on both sides of the fracture line. In class 2, teeth is present only on the one side of the fracture line. In class 3, it is edentulous patient. According to AO classification, the mandibular fracture was classified depending upon the number of fracture fragments, location of the fracture, occlusion status, soft tissue involvement and associated fractures. So F0 was incomplete according to the number of fracture. F0 is incomplete fracture, F1 is single fracture, F2 is multiple fractures, F3 is comminuted fracture and F4 is fracture with the bony defect. According to the location, L1 is precanine, L2 is canine, L3 is postcanine, L4 is angle, L5 is supraangular, L6 is condyle, L7 is coronoid and L8 is alveolar process. According to association fracture, according to occlusion, O0 is no malocclusion is seen in such fractures, O1 is malocclusion is present and O2 is are fractures which are taking place in edentulous mandible. According to association, A0 is none, no associated fracture with mandible along with mandible. A1 is dentoalveolar fracture is associated with mandibular fracture. A2 is nasal bone fracture is associated. A3 is zygoma fracture. A4 is with Lefort 1. A5 is with Lefort 2 and A6 is with Lefort 3. Now these are the few basic clinical features which we can appreciate in a mandibular fracture, that is pain, inability or swelling and hematoma, facial asymmetry can be noticed, difficulty in opening mouth. There can be tenderness, there is tenderness on over fracture site, crepitus can be felt, a step deformity can be seen, and there can be derangement of occlusion and patient may feel difficulty in opening mouth. Now the basic management of mandibular fractures after doing the primary survey, primary treatment, that is according to ATLS, airway, breathing, circulation, then definitive neurological and exposure. After that we can go for the definitive treatment, which is reduction, immobilization and fixation. So reduction is basically restoring the functional alignment of the bone or the bony fragments, which can be done by two ways. It could be closed reduction or open reduction. In closed reduction, manually we reduce the two fracture fragments and bring them back to in the normal alignment. In open reduction, we expose the fracture site and it is done under direct visualization, immobilization and fixation. Now the reduction, the closed reductions can be done by various methods, out of which some are direct interdental wiring, indirect wiring, or arch bars, cap splints, which are normally done with tooth bearing areas. Gunning type splints is normally done in edentulous. Open method can be done by various methods, which includes transosseous wiring or plating or with titanium mesh or bone clamps or bone screws. Now fixations are of two types, it could be direct or indirect. In direct, we directly expose the fracture fragments and fix it. In indirect fixation, we take an anchorage of the adjacent supporting area or supporting bone through which we can immobilize the two fracture fragments. Now immobilizations can also be done by various methods, which include osteosynthesis without intermaxillary fixation, mini plates, compressive plates, non-compressive small plates, out of which mini plates are most commonly used these days. Intermaxillary fixation, arch bars, cap splints or bonded brackets or dental wiring are used in intermaxillary fixation, and intermaxillary fixation with osteosynthesis involves transosseous wiring, circumferential wiring, bone clamps and transfixion with K wires. Now the reduction, as I discussed before, it is of two types, could be closed reduction and open reduction. The indications of closed reductions are undisplaced fractures and grossly comminuted fractures. Now fractures with severely atrophic edentulous mandible. And indications of open reduction, there are few indications of open reduction involves unfavorable fracture, displaced bilateral condylar fracture, malunited mandibular fracture, and especially when the closed reduction is contraindicated in cases with patients being medically compromised, patients who have seizures or some medical issue. In such cases, open reduction is preferred. Now advantages and disadvantages. The closed reduction is inexpensive, it is more convenient, OT is not required and can be easily done by no great operator or skill is required, and it can be done only using a stainless steel wire. Now disadvantages is there is no absolute stability in it. Oral hygiene becomes a problem. It goes for a long period of intermaxillary fixation, and there are chances that TMJ cartilage may be seen with some changes may occur, and there will be decreased range of motion of the mandible. Now open reduction advantages are it is more accurate and accurate reduction and fixation as it is done under direct visualization. Better bone healing is there. Early return to normal jaw function, and patient can maintain a proper oral hygiene. Disadvantages is it requires a surgical exposure. It is done under general anesthesia, and as compared to closed technique, it becomes more technique sensitive and a foreign body is left in the tissue, so there can be a chance of some infection. Now open reduction can be done by various ways. The few modalities of open reductions involve intraosseous wiring, K-wire, which is now obsolete because of presence of various other methods, bone plate osteosynthesis and compression plates. Now, for an open reduction, there is the various surgical approaches could be. It can be done from an intraoral incision, that is vestibular incision, or it can be done extraorally through existing laceration if present, or we can even expose the fracture site through submental area incision or a submandibular incision, hind incision, Risdon incision, or a retromandibular incision. These are few surgical approaches to for mandibular fracture. Now, coming to the types of bone plates, after exposing and after reduction and immobilization, we have to fix the fracture fragments, and which can be done by various bone plates. Now, these are few bone plates, that is titanium mini plates, which are most commonly used these days. Biodegradable plates, in which there is no need of removing the plates as it degrades on its own. 3D dimensional plates, because of its geometric structure, it becomes more adaptive. Compression plates, it helps to bring the fracture fragments closer to each other and provides more stability. But these days titanium plates are most commonly used, and it works on the principle called as Champy's principle, which states, according to Champys et al., he stated that the forces of mastication produces tensional forces on the upper border of the mandible and compression forces on the lower border of the mandible, and in symphysis area there is a torsional force is produced. So, after studying these forces, Champy et al. Put forward the line where the plates and screws should be placed and named as ideal osteosynthesis line. Along these lines, the plates and screws should be placed. So, in symphysis area, to counteract the torsional forces, 2 plates should be placed, and to neutralize the torsional areas, and in the angle area or in the body area, 1 plate is enough to counterbalance the 2 other forces. Thank you.